Hi guys, as requested, I'm going to be reviewing a video about evolution and what humans are supposed to eat.
Hey, Thoughty2 here. If you've been flicking through social media recently, tuned into any Netflix documentary, or perused a plethora of podcasts, you're probably confused about what you should be eating. According to some expert influencers, you should be a vegetarian, pescatarian, insect-eating, meat-eating vegan who avoids seed oils, sugar, acid.
Insect-eating, meat-eating vegan? What is that? Of course, what he named are man-made diets. It has nothing to do with what humans are naturally supposed to eat.
Dairy and fun. Confusing, isn't it? But I want to forget all the fads and hush the hype to answer a really simple question at the bottom of it all that I don't think is talked about enough. What are humans actually meant to eat? Forgoing any agenda, let's explore our ancestral roots and follow them all the way to the modern day and delve into what the body responds well to and what it doesn't. Fossil evidence shows clear signs of butchery on small animal bones dating back to this era, suggesting at this time we ate meat with more regularity. But the biggest change to our ancestors' diet came after we learned to control fire.
It's really funny how science works nowadays. You find these bones of a smaller animal, which is why you religiously believe that we ate smaller animals back then. It could also just mean that one human being ate this small animal and that 99% of the time we ate bigger animals. It doesn't mean anything, but you religiously, because you want to believe that, simply believe it, but there's no proof for that. That's exactly how religions work. And these people would say that they are against religions when this is a way more religious belief than believing in Jesus Christ. Just finding some bones and assuming that that's what happened for no reason at all. Even the Bible isn't as religious as these kind of beliefs. And then you have skeletons of humans or whatever you want to call them who used to have a different skull, which could mean anything. Maybe there used to be different humans back then. Maybe because we ate better diets, our skulls were better developed. It could mean anything. But no, it just means that we used to be apes and then we evolved into humans without any proof. There's literally zero proof. Literally, the Bible is less religious than this belief. It's just really funny.
For a long time, we thought that this happened about 400,000 years ago. But ash found in caves in South Africa suggests it was actually about 1.5 million years ago. Cooking food kills.
Ash suggests that. Come on, you can't make this up. How can you believe that? Everything in the Bible, which I don't even believe in, is based on more proof than this. Ash. Ash.
Parasites prolonging our lifespans. Cooked food has to be chewed less, so there was a...
Cooked food, or at least cooked meat specifically, you can argue about plants, has to be chewed more. Of course, cooked meat is tougher. Everybody who has eaten raw meat knows this. And the decrease in jaw size would be because we were getting less nutrients, seeing as cooked meat has, depending on how much you cook it, 30 to 50% less nutrients. If you cook a steak well done, it has 50% less protein and 50% less micronutrients, as in all of the fat-soluble and the water-soluble vitamins are reduced even more.
Any decrease in our jaw size after this era. The gut also grew smaller because it didn't need to use as much energy to digest food. And fibrous root vegetables were now on the menu more often, as were tough and chewy lean meats such as game.
Where's the proof for any of this? Why would humans eat fibrous vegetables? Completely religious, zero proof.
The effect of increased meat consumption was profound. It's believed that the high-quality nutrients found in meat played a crucial role in the evolution of our larger, more complex brains. Meat is more energy-dense than plants and is high in B12, zinc, and iron, which are all crucial for brain development. Generally, though, cooking allowed for greater nutrient absorption of all food types.
This is exactly where it makes zero sense, and anybody with a thinking brain would right away understand this, because when you cook food, as I said, you destroy 50% of protein, the B12, the zinc, very important for your brain, omega-3s also. This is all destroyed. In a well-done steak, over 90% of the B12 is destroyed, meaning that if we would have started eating cooked meat back then, our brains would have shrunk. We would have devolved. It has to be like that because you would be consuming food with way less nutrients, all of the nutrients which are needed for brain development. And there's absolutely no proof whatsoever, absolutely zero, that nutrients become somehow easier to absorb or digest when you cook food. Absolutely zero. This is a completely religious belief. There has never been anything scientific, no studies whatsoever released about this. And I've been studying this topic for over 8 years now. There's nothing. But look into it yourself. I'm not saying to trust me. It's just that that's why he's not presenting any proof for it. There's no studies, there's nothing whatsoever. It's just a religious belief. That's what this video has been so far about. Just his religious belief, which he learned from a priest who you would nowadays call a scientist. Besides all of this, cooked meat is a lot harder to digest. If you've eaten raw meat, then you know it. Cooked meat sits in your gut for a lot longer, simply because it has been denatured. You can only digest natural food perfectly, which is why humans have always eaten raw meat, up until religions brainwashed people to start cooking their meat, avoiding blood. But a lot of societies today still eat raw meat, such as Ethiopians, the Japanese, Siberians, Eskimos.
Leading to a more...
By the way, it's also funny how he has broccoli there. Broccoli was invented very recently. It's a man-made flower. What else can you say about this video? That already shows you very severe ignorance, because if you cannot even find any plants which we would naturally eat, which would have been found back then how can you take this video seriously? It simply means that he could not think of any natural plants which humans would actually eat, and that's because there are none. Humans in nature don't walk around looking for plants, for flowers especially. It should be clearly understood that broccoli is a flower.
In their place was grain, more grain than you could shake a sheaf of wheat at. A grain-based diet can support a much larger population per square mile than hunting and foraging.
This is exactly when humans started degenerating. That's when everything went wrong. But it's a misconception that humans somehow naturally, or however you want to put it, started eating grains. It's very clear that humans were enslaved and forced to eat the grains, especially in Egypt, and all of the religions followed, which were pushing this kind of degenerative food. And then the slavery spread to a lot of parts of the earth. It should be clearly understood that it wasn't some natural progress of humans simply eating grains all of a sudden.
So this is when Homo sapiens started spreading across the globe and our numbers grew exponentially. But agriculture wasn't necessarily a good thing. We were less healthy than ever before. Early agriculture was lacking in quite a few important nutrients, specifically vitamins A and C, which are prevalent in vegetables and fruits.
What? What? Oh my god. Why don't you do any research before creating this kind of a video? It seems like a lot of work was put into the editing of the video, but hardly any into the research. There's no plants on Earth that have vitamin A, as in zero. There's plants that have vitamin C. It's not the animal version of vitamin C, which is DHAA, which is what humans use. That's still pretty much useless at the end of the day.
These elements were all severely lacking in this new grain-based diet, which was also a high carbohydrate diet.
Yes, grains have essentially no micronutrients. Technically, they do have micro amounts of micronutrients. There's so many anti-nutrients that you can't even count any of the minerals found in these grains. It's so insanely negligible that it's not even worth mentioning. Essentially, a grain-based diet is a carbohydrate-based diet, which means that you're severely lacking in micronutrients.
And in developed nations, life expectancies broke through unprecedented barriers.
He's talking about the 18th century. I don't know what he's comparing the lifespans of back then to, but back then you could for sure say that we lived long lives. There's lots of records of people living to 140, 150, even 160 from 200-300 years ago. Is he saying that we lived shorter lives before? When exactly? It's hard to say because he's not comparing it to anything.
Trouble was, this only happened in areas of the world that had a middle class, and therefore had access to such a varied, nutritious diet. And then, of course, there was...
But there's no proof that people who lived in other places where people live more naturally had lower life expectancies, as in zero proof.
Great plague on the horizon. Not the Black Death, but something much worse. A plague that once it had seeped its tendrils into society, it began to rot us away from our very core. The plague of processed food. Now, I'm not going to rant on about the evils of processed food here because we've all been lectured about it more than we probably care for at this point. But one thing is for certain, as processed food has proliferated throughout the world, obesity has skyrocketed. Multiple meta-analyses over the past decades have found a strong link between so-called ultra-processed foods and an increased risk of...
Yes, it's very simple. The junk food is full of drugs, which makes you addicted to it, and it's essentially only based on carbohydrates, which is sugar, which means that you're eating sugar all day long. You spike your insulin, which is a growth hormone, and you signal your body to store fat all day long, every day. Of course, you will become overweight, as in having too much fat. You can also be overweight by having too much muscle. That's also an illness, and even newer illness than being overweight because of fat. That's been going on the last 2-3 decades. People should also be aware of that. Also, just as unhealthy, I would say even more.
Of heart disease, stroke, and premature death.
Exactly what happens to bodybuilders.
So, we've established what we've been eating for the past 7 million years, and how the human diet has...
We established that, oh, it's just established, just a religious belief with zero proof, but it's established. Okay, let's go on.
...shifted during that time. But we still haven't answered the most important question. What should humans be eating today? To answer this, I'm going to attack it on 2 fronts, human physiology and nutritional needs. So let's start with the physiology. Consider our digestive tract. The length and complexity of an animal's gastrointestinal tract are intrinsically linked to its diet. Herbivorous animals, such as cows, have long, complex digestive systems that include multiple stomach chambers or a lengthy colon. Plant materials like grasses and leaves are hard to break down, and cellulose, which is found in plants, requires prolonged fermentation to efficiently extract the nutrients. Some herbivorous animals...
Yes, and that's exactly the reason why humans never ate any flowers or any kind of vegetables, no leafy greens. There's completely zero point in us trying to eat that. We cannot digest it.
The shorter colon of Homo sapiens compared to herbivores suggests it has evolved to consume meat. Although it's not as short as a carnivore's, which makes sense since we're so...
Not to scale measurements are average. The actual measurements which have been proven are that cats have a shorter digestive tract than us, and dogs have a longer digestive tract than us, which means that we are in the middle of cats and dogs, which makes us carnivores. And it should be understood that carnivores are animals which eat at least 20% of their diet as raw meat. That's the very definition of a carnivore. Humans are by every definition carnivores because of what we eat in nature and because of our digestive tract, our digestive juices, which are specifically there to digest meat.
We're in the middle. We're omnivores. Humans also have a very high level of stomach acidity compared to other omnivores, and even more so.
Yes, we can scavenge food, even if the animal has been laying around for a while. If you're healthy the way you should be in nature, then you can eat meat the way it is. That's why we have this stomach acidity.
Than some carnivores. This is an evolutionary byproduct of eating meat, since strong stomach acids are necessary for killing bacteria that can proliferate on meat. The human pancreas also produces special enzymes that are proficient at breaking down...
The acidity is there to neutralize and eliminate toxins, not bacteria, but it's something, of course, that he wouldn't understand.
...proteins and fats. Put all this together, and Homo sapiens are, of all the omnivores, one of the most well-adapted for meat consumption. The human diet is also imprinted in a really obvious way into our teeth. We have molars for grinding and canines for tearing. As omnivores, this gives us a level of flexibility that is rarely seen in the animal kingdom, allowing us to process both tough plants and meats. That's our physiology in an...
How can we process tough plants exactly if we cannot do it with our digestive tract? Why would we eat them? When we chew them open in our mouth, then we right away taste how bitter they are, how unappetizing they are to our senses.
Easy, quick energy that are broken down into glucose in the body, which is the primary energy source for your brain and muscles. Carbs also have a...
The way you look at this animation is the same way you can look at any animal. They store the glycogen, which means that if you eat a freshly killed animal, then you will be eating fats, carbs, and protein, of course. In the liver especially, you can get a lot of carbohydrates, but the kind of meat we eat nowadays is dried. It's not fresh anymore. There's nothing really left, which is why a typical meat-based diet today is going to be an almost ketogenic diet, definitely a low-carb diet. Whereas if you eat freshly hunted animals, then you're going to be getting a lot more carbohydrates from them.
Lastly, there's fats, often misunderstood and unfairly vilified. Fats are essential for the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. They're also crucial for brain health. Fats come in three flavors: saturated, unsaturated, and trans fats. Saturated fats, found in animal products and some plant oils, were once deemed the bad guys, thought to clog arteries and increase risk of heart disease. And truth be told, the jury's still out on that one. However, newer research...
That wouldn't make any sense because the first recorded heart attack was around 100 years ago, and people always used to eat saturated fat-based diets before that. That alone completely debunks it.
...suggests that the story's a bit more complex. Your body actually needs saturated fats, but the trick is to balance them with unsaturated, the so-called good fats.
That of course makes zero sense. The body is mostly made out of saturated fat, which automatically means that that's what we mostly need. Very little polyunsaturated oils and a bit more monounsaturated. Still nothing compared to saturated. We should for sure mostly be eating saturated fats, of course.
Monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats are found in foods like olive oil, avocados.
Olive oil is oil pressed out of bitter toxic fruits. Of course, we should not consume that. Avocados have only been found naturally in Mexico, I believe, and then they were exported to other countries, but that's recent. Almost nobody outside of South or North, however you want to call it, America used to eat them. And nuts, again, the ones we eat are cultivated. You wouldn't even be eating natural nuts.
Reduce inflammation, and they've been linked to a lower risk of heart disease.
No, not what's found in olive oil, avocados, or nuts. If anything, then fish because of the omega-3s, DHA, EPA.
Omega-3 fatty acids, a typical polyunsaturated fat found abundantly in fatty fish, are particularly beneficial for brain function and reduce the risks of depression, dementia, and arthritis.
Yes, of course, because your brain is mostly made out of these fats, but what you should be eating for your brain is brain. Obviously, that's what will give you the most omega-3s.
Yes. And then there are trans fats, the true villains. These are mostly artificial fats, created in an industrial process that adds hydrogen to liquid vegetable oils to make them more solid. Trans fats are found in many fried foods, baked...
It's complete poison and the main cause of heart disease and most of the illnesses of today. Completely stay away from that. Never even cheat on your diet. It's complete poison. Eat whatever else you want, but never eat anything with trans fats. Not those kind, anyway.
Vitamins all play a crucial role, and each of them does something for us, whether it's vitamin D for bone health or vitamin A for vision and immune support. But what does this mean for our diets? In trying to figure out what humans need to eat, we should show...
Carrots, vitamin A, or vitamin A. Come on, man. Really, why not do some research before making a video? Carrots only have carotenoids, which are pigments. That's why they are orange. We have tons of studies proving that we cannot convert the pigments to vitamin A. It's just not something that human beings are naturally made to do. Other animals that eat plants can do it, but these carrots are not even found in nature, which means that we wouldn't naturally be eating them. The broccoli is not found in nature, as I said before. Avocados like that, also not. Tomatoes. The bananas have a lot of seeds. Grapes are super small. The fish is natural. That's about it. Oh, the eggs also down there. Most of the stuff is not even found in nature. That's the biggest problem with this video. It's showing all kinds of man-made plants which humans never even used to eat. It's a very modern phenomenon.
Will we be eating the foods that give us a healthy balance of all the vitamins?
The reality is that you already get all of them from the eggs and the fish. There's no need to eat any of these plants.
And a quick side note, notice I said foods, not supplements. Healthy individuals can get all the vitamins and minerals they need from eating food alone. Furthermore, it's generally recommended...
I'm very glad he says that supplements are toxic for the most part. Over 90% of them are synthetic. It's not even real vitamins or minerals.
...to get all your vitamins and minerals from food rather than supplements, unless your doctor has recommended to the contrary. Anyway, let's get back to those vitamins. So vitamin A is found primarily in fish oils and dairy products, as well as eggs, spinach, and kale.
No, not in spinach or kale. Kale is insanely toxic. That's why everybody hates it. Same with spinach, of course. Spinach has oxalic acid, aka oxalates, which create kidney stones. Nobody in nature eats green leaves. That's why we hate the taste of green leaves. And they don't have vitamin A. No plant on earth has vitamin A. At least he mentioned some animal foods, Liver has the most vitamin A.
Vitamin D is a similar story. Look at fatty fish, egg yolks, mushrooms, and red meat.
Mushrooms have D2. D2 would have to be converted into D3. Again, as proven in studies, we cannot do that because we're not mushroom eaters. You cannot eat food which the human being is not supposed to naturally eat and then convert all of these precursors, for example, to the actual vitamins. It doesn't work like that. If you're not naturally supposed to eat something, then you cannot start eating it all of a sudden and then convert it.
Vitamin E, surprise, surprise, is also found in fish, but it's also present.
It's found in all animal fats, and again, with the plant versions, you would have to convert them to the animal versions.
Vitamin K is the king of leafy greens. You'll find this in pretty much every dark.
That's K1. Human beings use K2. Again, you would have to convert. We cannot do that.
Green plant, broccoli, kale, Swiss chard, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, etc.
He doesn't even mention K2 at all. Really horrible research for a video. So strange. K2, which is what humans actually use, you will get from animal fat, fermented animal foods, organs, especially liver, spleen, all of that.
Vitamin C comes from citrus fruits, blackcurrants, strawberries, and some green vegetables.
Again, the plant version. You want the animal version, which is found in liver, spleen, predominantly in organs and blood.
And finally, there are the various B vitamins. There are 8 of them, and they can be mostly found in...
Again, you're dealing with plant versions such as B6. You would have to convert it. I can already imagine what he's gonna name here.
Animal products, meat, cheese, milk, eggs, etc.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Wait. Oh, okay, never mind. I take everything back. I assumed that he would say potatoes, leafy greens. No, yeah, this was actually good. Yeah, animal foods.
However, there's one particular vitamin that holds a unique clue in our journey to find out what humans should eat. B12 is a really interesting vitamin because it is the only one that can only be found in significant amounts in animal products.
Wrong. I'm gonna have a list here of over 15 micronutrients not found in plants at all. And then there's many which are found in plants, but in negligible amounts. It's really a lot of nutrients which you can get from plants.
B12 is needed for red blood cell formation, and a deficiency often leads to anemia. B12 is also crucial for brain development and ongoing brain health, as well as heart health.
That's the problem. A lot of these vegans believe that they are getting their B12 from supplements, injections. One of the injections is essentially a different form of cyanide, which is why after the injection, you will feel like you have a lot of energy. It's your body's response to the toxicity of the injection. That's why you will produce a lot of adrenaline, but the vegans will believe that the B12 injection is working. And when you're not getting the B12, you will sink deeper and deeper into the veganism because you will not be able to figure out why you're getting sick, seeing as your brain will function less and less.
Lack of B12 has also been linked to an increased risk of depression and anxiety. Although these days many non-animal food products are artificially fortified with B12.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, and it's not real B12.
So then, we know what our bodies need, and we know what we've been eating for millions of years. Can we finally now answer that question? What should humans eat? Well, if I absolutely had to give an answer, it would probably be this. Whatever works for you.
Oh my God. How can you come to this conclusion that you should be eating whatever works for you after giving all of this information? That doesn't make any sense. He's just trying to appeal to anybody. When you make a video like this, then there's no need to appeal to people. Terrible, terrible.
I think it's really important that we educate ourselves on our biological requirements and make sure we cover all our bases with our diets, avoiding overconsumption of any one food group. But the truth is that everyone is different, not just in beliefs, morals, and tastes, but physiologically.
But you just proved in your own video that we are not different. What do you mean?
Personalized Nutrition Project was a large-scale study conducted in Israel in 2015, in which the blood sugar levels of 800 participants were tracked after eating. What they discovered is that no one diet fits all. Everyone's bodies respond differently to the same foods. Ice cream may cause one person's blood sugar to spike, but the same ice cream could have no significant effect on another.
Okay, somebody may be insulin resistant, for example, and somebody may not be, yet you shouldn't be eating ice cream in a cone in general. It's unnatural. How is that proof that we should be eating different foods? If all of the participants would be eating raw meat, which is what we eat in nature, then all of them would respond the same to it. All of them would heal their bodies. It's not proof that we should be eating different kinds of foods when you give people who are already sick ice cream. Horrible video. Amazing.
The Personalized Nutrition Project is just one study within a new and emerging field of science called Nutriomics. Nutriomics aims to discover exactly why people react differently to different foods and diets.
But that's the thing. You're comparing man-made diets. You're not giving people natural food. But that's the whole problem with your video. You said that we evolved by eating cooked food, which has less nutrients and is harder to digest. That's why you can't make any sense out of what humans are supposed to eat, when in reality, it's very clear. We eat what humans eat in nature, which is raw meat. We eat the organs raw. We drink the blood. We eat the fat. You will also find some eggs now and then. Some fruits here and there. Honey. That's about it. You will never eat green leaves. You will never eat flowers. None of that. Of course, people will react differently to burgers, to bread, depending on how much their bodies are damaged. But you can't give humans unnatural food and put them on unnatural diets and then base your conclusions as to how they will react to unnatural food, because it will always be different. It would be the same as giving cows chocolate, and then you would see how they respond to it. But you can't come to a conclusion by giving an animal unnatural food, seeing as they will always respond badly to it. If you give a cow grass, then the cow will always react well to the grass. The same way humans will always react well to raw meat. It's just so stupid.
It explores how the presence of specific gene mutations in some people affects what they should be optimally eating. Nutriomics.
No, all of them would respond the same way to raw meat. The same way a cow would always respond the same way to grass. But they are not even giving these participants in all of these studies the possibility to actually eat what they are naturally supposed to eat. You can never come to a conclusion then.
They've also found a gene that determines how well or how poorly caffeine works on you. It's called CYP1A2.
How is this relevant? Caffeine is a toxin which produces adrenaline in the body. Nobody should be consuming it. It doesn't matter how well you respond to a toxin. This video can't be taken seriously.
If caffeine doesn't give you a perk like most other people, you probably have the fast metabolizing version of this gene. By analysing these various genetic markers, and many more we've yet to discover, Nutriomics aims to personalise nutrition advice, moving beyond a one-size-fits-all dietary recommendation to create bespoke...
This is so horrible. There should be raw meat above all of them. It would work for everybody on Earth. It always has. Such a horrible video. Almost disgusting to watch it.
So, ultimately, if I had to answer the question, what are humans meant to eat? This diet would be my answer. My final answer. And please note this is just my personal opinion that I've derived based on the research I've done. Ask anyone else and they could answer differently. Now, some of you might have already guessed what I'm about to say. Yeah, it's the Mediterranean diet. Yes, I know, you've heard all about it time and time again, but it turns out there are 100 good reasons for that.
The Mediterranean diet is mostly based on animal foods. They eat predominantly goats, a lot of raw goat meat also, fish, just because there's water around them in most of the places. And a lot of other meat, beef also, whatever they have, sheep. And they hardly ever eat any olive oil, which is what people will say. They don't consume most of the stuff that people will tell you they do. If you look at the actual Mediterranean diets, also in Spain, then you will see that they eat mostly meat. And Spain has a population which is ranked usually number one when it comes to meat consumption. And they also have some of the highest lifespans on Earth. That's what the Mediterranean diet is. If that's what he promotes, then he's promoting an 80-90% animal-based diet.
You see, the paleo diet may be pretty great and all, but humans are ultimately creatures of habit, and we're extremely susceptible to temptation. And that's a bit of a problem, because the paleo diet is really very limiting. Namely, it cuts out two of modern humanity's greatest inventions, wheat and cheese.
Wheat and cheese. But you yourself said that eating grains is what degenerated human beings, essentially. How is it the greatest invention? Wow. Such a strange video. Really insanely contradictory.
The paleo diet forbids the consumption of dairy and anything made from grain, like breads and pastries. Last time I checked, those are all the delicious things, because those are post-agricultural inventions.
Those are not delicious on their own. Try eating grains themselves, or even fresh grain sludge. It's insanely disgusting. There's nothing much more disgusting on this earth. The only reason you say that it's delicious is because it's full of sugar and other drugs.
And they were not eaten by hunter-gatherers. But the Mediterranean diet has managed to magically fuse the best elements of the paleo diet with the wonders of agriculture in a beautiful blend of good food.
What is he even saying here with this pyramid? That they eat mostly what? Tubers and grains and vegetables and fruits, which are not even found in the region. It's so stupid. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's so wrong. This video is horrible.
And world-leading health. The Mediterranean diet, which is primarily the diet of Italy, Greece and Spain, just like the paleo diet, champions the consumption of whole foods in their natural, unadulterated, unprocessed state.
What? What are you talking about? How could you then be eating anything made out of grains? Nobody eats raw grains. Oh my god. This video got so much worse at the end.
However, the Mediterranean diet expands the culinary palette of paleo with the addition of whole grains, legumes,
but people don't eat unprocessed whole grains or legumes.
and dairy products, particularly fermented ones like cheese and yogurt, which are great for your gut health. And the results speak for themselves. As of 2023, Italy and Spain are both ranked in the top 10.
Hong Kong, also one of the highest meat consumptions on earth, along with Spain. Japan, they eat raw meat. Switzerland, they live a pretty chill life with good air. And they also have very high quality food. They eat a lot of meat. Singapore, a lot of meat. Italy, South Korea, again, super high meat consumption, one of the highest meat consumptions in Asia. Yeah, it's just all meat countries. Australia, not sure about it.
Worldwide for life expectancy. And the Italian island of Sardinia is one of only 5 blue zones in the world, regions where people regularly live to over 100. In conclusion, there is no one-size-fits-all answer to what should humans...
Horrible conclusion. There is absolutely a one-size-fits-all, just like it is for every animal. Or would you say that humans are somehow special? For cows, there's a one-size-fits-all. For lions, there's a one-size-fits-all, and so on. But for humans, magically no. We need to figure out what we are supposed to eat.
A diet that includes a variety of whole foods, is rich in fruits, vegetables, healthy fats and proteins, and is adaptable to individual needs and preferences, seems to be the closest we can get to a so-called optimal human diet. But remember, what's optimal for one person might not work for you, and ultimately, all you can do...
Show me one human being who has problems with raw meat, who doesn't feel the best eating raw meat. There's thousands of people who have started eating raw meat because of my videos. I haven't had one who came to me who said that he has some kind of problems with raw meat. You can have problems with bad quality meat, then you need to find better quality meat, but as such in general, nobody says that they have digestive issues or they feel bad. None of that. The same way no cow is gonna go and complain that they feel bad eating grass.
Is inform yourself about how what you eat affects your body, and then eat whatever you think will make you happy and healthy.
This video wasn't even that bad at the beginning. He was sharing his religious beliefs. I'm already used to it. In the middle, I was starting to slowly question it because he was slightly contradicting himself. But then at the end, he was completely contradicting himself. How can you contradict yourself so much in your own video? You say at the beginning that the reason we are this degenerated today is essentially because of the grains, the seeds overall, but then at the end you say that we should be eating a diet which at least consists of some whole grains and legumes, which are the reason we are so degenerated. Really strange. It's as if he was trying to appeal to everybody. If you would actually make a somewhat so-called scientific video, then you would right away understand that we should not be eating any kind of seeds, obviously. If that's the conclusion you come to, as far as our jaws go, all of the problems with our genes. And then when you look at how much meat we consumed, then you should of course understand that we should be eating mostly meat, especially when you look at all of the populations today that live the longest lives. He showed it himself, but probably didn't realize that they eat mostly meat in those places. And then when you understand that when you cook meat, you destroy most of the nutrients, then the only logical conclusion you could come to is that we should be eating mostly raw meat, which is what we eat in nature, which every human being thrives on. But somehow he came to the conclusion that we should be eating seeds, vegetables, fruits, and some meat and fish. It makes no sense. You can't even come to this conclusion from your own video. Hey, how much more can you contradict yourself? Thanks for watching.